Giving in. Our relationships are so incredibly important to us that we want to make them work. We want to be able to have peaceful relationships. But where does giving in come in? We don't want to be taken advantage by anyone. We don't want to be stepped on. We don't want to be used. We don't want to be treated with disrespect. So what are the boundaries? How do we balance our lives with making peaceful relationships with others, but at the same time not giving in to the point where we're just taken advantage of? So what is giving in all about? How much do we give in? Who do we give in to? And what does really the giving in mean in our relationships? What does it look like? And I'm here to share with you some ideas as well as 6 practical tips on what does giving in look like. In Hebrew, vatranut means to yield, means to give in, or it means to stop resisting a person, stop resisting their ways and just give in, right? To yield. If you master the art of yielding, of vatranut, you will bring joy to Hashem, gain protection from harsh judgments, and enhance your interpersonal relationships. We all want good relationships, happy and peaceful relationships, relationships that work, relationships where we know that we're not wasting our time in, right? We want it to work both ways, that we're being appreciated back and our relationships are working and it's a good relationship. Hashem says in Tehillim 91:15, I am with him during his troubles. This means that when a Jew suffers, he is not suffering alone. Hashem is with him. When a person causes another Jew a pain, he's triggering him in the upper realms, in Shamayim. He's triggering this pain in Shamayim as well, and Hashem feels it. Why would a person want to be responsible for that? It is proper that a person should be mevater, which means giving in, when it comes to matters related to this world. Because to the wise person, everything in this world is foolishness and not worth fighting over. This is what the Rambam teaches us. The wise person knows that everything in this world is just trivial. It's not so important, right? Even if you're late to work, even if someone lied to you, even if the milk spilled and you were on your way out, even if the children are misbehaving, even if you didn't make all the gourmet food and salads that you wish to serve, if somebody hurt you, it just, all of these things are all trivial. They come to pass within a few few moments of time, even years. It just, sometimes you need a longer amount of time to get over it, to work with it. However, we just see, even in the most difficult circumstances, years later, that it was just nonsense, and then maybe we could just laugh about it, right? So if we really think about it, most of life is trivial and mundane, and as well as foolish. It is foolish to dwell on certain aspects of life that, because they are trivial, and it is not worth fighting over. Rav Chaim Kanievsky, in the name of the Chafetz Chaim, said, nothing bad will ever happen to you if you give in. You may not see it directly, but if you are mevater, you will always gain. In other words, if you're mevater, if you're giving in, you will always gain. You will always be a winner. The world that we live in today tells us, no, if you're right, you're right. People go to court. People try to, catch people when they're doing the wrong thing, to embarrass them, humiliate them, because they seem like they're the winner. But really, they are losing. They're losing big. They're losing in the value of their own life, in the quality of their life, and in the way they live their life. They're losing in the relationships with others. Yes, you came out a winner in a court, but at the same time, you lost big time in your life. Why? Because you ruined so many relationships. Life is not about being right. It's about being smart. Let's tap into what really matters in life, our relationships. When a person has a miscommunication with someone, or when a person has an argument with someone, even if they win the argument, they're not sitting well with themselves. They're not at peace with themselves because they know now something is missing in their lives. Now, if the person is sick, if the person is, challenged in many ways, if the person is not able to be reasoned with, now that's a different story. It's better that, our sages say, it's better that most of the time you should leave this relationship alone. You shouldn't be involved in this relationship, because if the person is not being reasonable back, it's really a matter to be consulted with a mentor, with a rabbi. So most of the time, if you're able to reason with the person, then great. If you're able to compromise, if not, the best thing to do is to give in. And here I'm going to share with you 6 practical tips. Number 1, if someone's behavior is bothersome to you, think about why they are behaving this way. Start acknowledging the stress that they are living with. Consider what it's like to live their daily life to the best of your ability, and be specific. Now, we know that we don't live anybody else's life. We cannot judge someone until we are in their shoes, but we are empathetic, we are sympathetic, and we can only relate to them somehow because we had such difficult situations as well. We can relate to them. However, when we look at others, we probably only see part of the picture, and we don't experience exactly what they experience, so we can't judge them. When we see other people, they, especially on social media, they only post the life that they wish people to see. It's not the full picture. And unfortunately, we invest so much time on social media believing what we're seeing, and it's not true. It's not true. I've seen it for myself that, friends that I was just curious about how they're doing, and they looked all great online, and all of a sudden I find out that they're going through such challenging circumstances that aren't even posted online, and their lives really don't look as beautiful as they seem. Of course, we want everybody's life to be beautiful, right? The person walking down the street sees a gorgeous house, and the person says to themselves, oh yes, they look like they have it all, they have a gorgeous house, a beautiful family, but you don't know what happens behind closed doors. This is not the way Hashem wants us to look at life and look at people. Of course, we want the best for others. We want other people to have a beautiful life, even behind closed doors. But the problem is we are jealous of others, and we look at only what we want to look at. However, just like a recipe has ingredients that you'd rather not eat by itself, let's say it's plain cinnamon or cream of tartar or baking soda or baking powder, you don't want these ingredients by itself. When it's mixed in, you'll enjoy the cake, you'll enjoy the recipe. However, when we look at others, we just choose the cream or the filling or the delicious cake, the stuff, the part of the cake, and it doesn't mean that that's really the whole picture and the person's life. So we want to judge others favorably. We want people to have a beautiful life that they seem to have. We want to judge them favorably. We want the best for them, and we want to relate to them the best way possible to make them feel good about themselves and to see them in a green light. That's number 1. Number 1 is, if someone's behavior is bothersome, try to relate to them, try to think to them with them about them in a positive light, empathize and sympathize. That's number 1. Number 2, ask the person to compromise if possible, right? If the person is not a sick person, if the person is not, mentally really just stuck in their ways and very, very stubborn. Sometimes when you're trying to have a conversation with someone who has a temper or who's just very difficult to speak to, you're not sure how they're going to react. Maybe it's not a good idea to point out their faults, just to accept them. And if you're stuck, you can always consult someone to help you with the matter. But if you can compromise, if you know they're going to also talk to you, make things right and be reasonable, then it's a good idea to compromise. Number 3 is I will consider that the other person might have a different point of view, and I will offer to try it their way. You know, we only look at our lives through our own lens. We make sense to ourselves, as Rebbetzin Esther Schwartz says. We only make sense to ourselves, you know. That's why a husband always feels that he's right, and a wife feels that she's right. And then, you know, being right just doesn't help. One of them has to be the smarter one, even if it's in that situation, and just make peace, right? Shalom by peace in the home is living a complete life. Not who's right in the home, but who's giving in, who's being mevater, right? So try to consider life from that person's point of view. If we really understand the person, like, wow, I didn't call you and made you feel like I forgot you. I really didn't, you know. Maybe it's because that person has low self-esteem, that they easily feel like they're not important. And that little action that we do, we make them enhance this quality about themselves, that they're just not worthy. And that's not true. So just viewing them in a different light is definitely helpful, and viewing them from their point of view. So number 4, I will remind myself that life isn't about winning. It is about getting along with others, right? It's not about I'm being right, I win the court case, I humiliated you, I embarrassed you, right? It's about, I'm reminding myself that life is not about winning. It's about making peaceful relationships with others. Number 5, I will ask myself, what would Hashem want me to do? When in doubt, ask yourself, what does Hashem want me to do in this situation? And that personally helps me as well. I love this practice where when we're confused, we know our intuition tells us what's the right thing. Sometimes it's hard for us to admit to it, you know, but practice makes better. You practice what you're good at. If you're good at making the right decisions, it's because you're constantly practicing on what is right. Okay. And number 6 is, for the sake of peace, I will take the blame even if I am not guilty. So that's a very big one, and it's very hard for our generation especially to just give in, even if I'm right. You know, we're all about being right. We're all about deserving, wanting the best. iPhone, iPad, everything is about me. But we have to step into the truth. The life of the Torah teaches us, think about the other person. I'm here to benefit others. I'm here to help other people with my talents, with my circumstances, with my gifts. It's not to serve me, it's to serve others. Of course, we need to take into consideration relationships with others, Hashem, with ourselves. It doesn't mean, you know, negating our own needs and wants, but it's just an understanding, a broader understanding that I don't exist just for myself. I have the ability to benefit the world through other people, circumstances, and this is my mission in life. And we learn from the Torah that Hashem relates to us the way we treat other people. If we are not exacting with others, flexible, and if we're forgiving, then Hashem behaves towards us exactly the same way. Hashem is not exacting, He's flexible, and He is forgiving to us for our misdeeds, even if they were deliberate, even if they were done on purpose. These ideas were very, very practical, and I hope they were helpful. Appreciating the insights of Rebbetzin Esther Feldbrand in her book, Choose Right, Building Better Interpersonal Relationships. Leah Abramov, Being and Becoming, Awakening Awareness of Your Greatness and Potential.